Hello and welcome to Business Ethics at Lehman College for the fall of 2023. My name is Erica Abraham and I will be your instructor for this semester. Now I know you've had some time to look over the syllabus, but because we are completely asynchronous, I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and has the important points down. The book is free and you can find it in multiple formats at this link. I've also embedded the outline of the textbook into our Blackboard page. You actually might be directed there the second that you log in. I think it has some kind of override command. And you'll be able to check the syllabus, see what it is we're supposed to be reading this week, go to that section of the Blackboard, click the link, and it'll take you directly to where you're supposed to be that week in the reading. You can also download your own version to read offline as a PDF, or even get a cheap printed copy. I think it's about $12 or $15, linked from OpenStax's website. If for any reason you wanted a physical copy, that is totally unnecessary though. You can stick with the digital copy the whole semester. I have a decent amount here that I could have edited a little bit and maybe should have, but again, I wasn't sure how many of you had been exposed to any kind of academic philosophy in your pasts. Since I wrote this, I have gone and looked and seen that all of you are business majors, but that doesn't mean you haven't taken philosophy as an elective. If you have, some of the stuff we talk about when we talk about the foundations of what philosophy is might be a review for you, but for those of you who have not taken philosophy classes, we will go over it a little bit more in depth, I think. I'm going to ask you all about your electives in your very first participation survey, which we'll get to in just a minute. But in the meantime, I just wanted to give you one sort of definition for what academic philosophy is. It's not the definitive version or definition. You ask 10 philosophers what philosophy is, you'll probably get 10 different answers. I'm trying to give you the most general sort of answer that I can in case you've never encountered it before in your life. People have always asked big questions about meaning and identity and self, and they've come up with a whole bunch of different ways to investigate those kinds of questions. Historically, one of the most popular has been religion. What happens after we die? How do I become a good person? How do I treat other people in my life? And the way religion often goes about answering those questions is by looking to sacred texts, institutional traditions, and faith. Those are perfectly valid methods to investigate these kinds of questions. Another methodology that human beings have developed is, of course, science. And science, as a general group at least, it's not a monolith, neither is religion, neither is philosophy, we're speaking in very general terms here, uses experimentation on empirically testable questions. What does that mean? Empirical just means things that we can sense with our physical senses. So we can observe them with our sight, smell, taste, touch, etc. As a little aside, I say etc. because apparently scientists think we have dozens of senses now, other than the big five. Very much an aside, of course, but if you're interested, you can go look it up. It's things like proprioception, or knowing where your limbs are without looking at all times. So it's kind of an internal sense. Anyway, both religion and science also use human reason. And we often hear people say, oh, that person's being unreasonable, or illogical, or irrational. And in regular everyday usage, that's absolutely fine. But we are using a specialized use of reason and rationality, meaning every human being has reason and is rational. Because all we mean is that human beings, with their brains, with their minds, use reasons to make decisions and to act. And that's all rationality is. It's using reasons as evidence for action or belief. So under that definition, religions use sacred texts, traditions, and treatises, faith, plus human reason to try and figure out these big questions. Science uses those empirical studies and experiments as well as human reason. Philosophers, on the other hand, investigate those same kind of questions using reason and logic alone. Logic's a new word here. It's just how we connect reasons together. So these are the definitions in philosophy of logic and reason. You can have terrible logic and terrible reasoning, and in regular colloquial language, that's usually what we mean when we say someone is being irrational or illogical. They're still using logic and rationality, they're just really bad at it in that moment. What about ethics and morality? That is a huge subfield within academic philosophy. So we narrow down those big questions from as many as there are to just questions about right and wrong, good and bad, and how we should live our lives. Studying philosophical ethics does not mean that we should stop studying ethics and morality scientifically or religiously. It's another avenue with which to do so. In this class, of course, we're going to be applying philosophical ideas about ethics and morality to the business world, to our economic enterprise. And as such, we will use reason and logic alone to think about the concepts, but then we will also apply them to real-world situations that you might find yourself in after you graduate. Finally, even if you decide to do something else with your life, this can be an important exercise in analyzing your own values, your own morality, and comparing it to how the world actually is. There is an ethics and morality to how people operate in our economic world, and to understand it and our place in it is only can be enriching. So how are we going to grade this semester? I know that that's a big thing for students every semester. It's important. This is it. You'll have a midterm and a final. It's going to be very similar to what you write for your homeworks. And you'll have a week of take-home to finish your midterm. And then your final, actually, it gets extended all throughout finals week, so you'll probably have about 2 weeks to finish your final. But the bulk of your grade, 65% of it, are discussions and homework, the weekly assignments. They're not both due every week. We will alternate. The first week, we will have a discussion. And I know in online classes, this can get a little bit rote, and it's the entire class, and you're supposed to make your own posts and respond to 2 people. We're going to try and make it a little bit more dynamic and meaningful this semester by being in smaller groups. I'll get to that in a minute, and I will go over it more thoroughly toward the end of the video. Homeworks are straightforward question answers about the material of the week. We'll also get more deeply into that when I switch over to the instructions. Participation is something I'm still working on. Since I don't get to see you at all or hear your voices, you don't get to see me, I'm not going to know how you're doing other than finishing assignments. So I'm going to ask questions every week. I'm going to ask you if there's been anything too difficult, too easy, if there's something you need some more background information on, if there's something I could be doing better to facilitate your success in this class. In this first week, I'm going to ask you, of course, if you have any exposure to academic philosophy at all yet. Your participation grade is solely based on these feedback questions. This is how the percentages break down into your actual letter grade. And here is what I say, the tentative schedule. So this might change. And I accidentally published a little bit older of a syllabus than the absolute final one. And this is the updated version. So I want to let you know this is what we had to do the first Friday. And this is the first week, this week. Wherein I want you to read the preface in chapter 1 of our textbook, 20 pages, and let you know this is the change from the first version of the syllabus. Sometimes there'll be supplemental readings. So our book, as mentioned in my announcement, is written by business people and lawyers with some input from philosophers, which is excellent. It is exactly the practical tool that you need to introduce ethical thought into your professional life. But this is a philosophy class, and sometimes we might want to go a little bit deeper into the philosophical concepts. So in the course materials, I'll upload a philosophical article. Sometimes I'll be able to find 2 or 3 pages that is exactly what I want for you to understand and read. Most of the time, that's not going to be the case. Philosophical papers tend to be much longer. So I'll upload that as a resource to you, but you will not be required to read it. Instead, I will write a 2 to 3 page summary of the most important points. And that is what you will be required to read. That will also be uploaded to the course materials. And I want those philosophical topics reflected in your work throughout the semester. You also need to watch video lectures. If you're here, you're already doing that. There's going to be 3 short lectures this week. One is going over the syllabus. Second is a brief introduction to where everything is on our blackboard. And the very last one will be a discussion of chapter 1. Then you'll have your first substantial assignment of the semester, a group discussion. I have, like I said, specific instructions for the group, which I will go over here in this video, and I'll also show you where to go when we do the Blackboard video. It gets a little bit more sparse, just telling you what to read and what is due that week. The detail is all the same from week 1 and week 2, just repeated throughout the semester. The only different thing that starts on week 3 are my office hours. So they will begin on Wednesday, September 6th. And they're in my personal Zoom space, and I'm not going to open it up every single day and sit there for an hour. Instead, if you want to meet with me, shoot me a quick email, and then the very next day, I will open up the Zoom room between 2 and 3, and you can come in and we can talk about whatever you need to talk about relevant to the class. I also have a caveat here. I don't really check my email on the week, my work email on the weekend or on holidays, but during the week I will do my best to get back to you ASAP, no longer than 24 hours, except this first week is a little tricky because I am out of town. Still available, it's just a little bit slower. Whenever CUNY has a day scheduled off, I try to take that into account with a little bit less work. Not really one day, since you have the other 4 days. The only time that that's really relevant is Thanksgiving. Where are we? Just think week 9. Yep. Nope. That's the midterm, but you don't have to worry about it all yet. There will be detailed instructions well before you're expected to do that. Here it is, week 14. There'll be a little bit of supplemental material. You won't even have to read a full chapter. There's no video that week, and you'll have a short multiple choice homework instead of the longer written homework that you have normally. I do want to mention that if you have anything that's going to impede you from completing the course in a timely fashion and succeeding, let this office know so I can accommodate your needs. There's also tutoring centers for the humanities and the sciences. I hear that they fill up quickly, so if you anticipate that you might need some help, contact them as soon as you can. And finally, plagiarism. Okay, so this semester we're still early on in the whole AI revolution. I've used it probably just as much as you guys have, so I can recognize when an answer is given by AI. I'm not 100%. I'm not going to be perfect with it, and I don't really have a recourse. If I see, however, that a lot of people are consistently using AI to answer their questions instead of answering them themselves, we're going to have to change things radically. Probably wherein I'll get answers from AI and then I'll have you analyze them instead of leaving it open-ended. I don't grade for perfection. I grade for sincere effort. And that's not 100% black and white. So sometimes I will make mistakes and we can discuss them, but I can also see when someone is trying. So hopefully that gives you enough understanding to know that I would rather you tried and didn't quite sparkle as much as you wanted than not try at all and find something online. Contact me through email at any time. We can also set up office hours outside of the 2 to 3 weekdays. If you have class or work or something regularly at that time, just email me. Okay, this is the end of video 1. Look for, oh no, it isn't. Excuse me. Let's talk about the instructions. Though looking at the time, I like to keep each video about 20 minutes, so maybe we'll separate it out into 4 videos. The syllabus, the instructions will be the second video, the third video will be going quickly over important locations on our blackboard, and then finally the 4th video will be about chapter 1 in our textbook. See you in video 2.